So, as you mentioned, my name is Moise, and Karen did not ask me to come here tonight, and nor am I getting paid to say anything I'm going to say. I was just in your seat last year, and I remember having another parent be here and just getting the value of just, a third party who's not affiliated and impartial give their opinion on the process. So my son currently just started kindergarten at Tag Young Scholars, which is a citywide school. And I just actually came back from curriculum night. I don't have a pink backpack, but he forgot his lunchbox. So I got a green Ninja Turtle lunchbox just to overdo Michael one. So I guess to talk about my experience, if you're here, you're in the right place. I mean, you made the biggest step you could possibly make in terms of helping your son get the best possible education they can get. So I just want to reassure you, pat you in the back. You guys are amazing. The next thing is why. So my story is when my son was 1. My wife, she wasn't working at the time, and she decided to go into teaching. She got a job, so he had to go to daycare. I was working on Wall Street, and so I figured, I could just call random daycares and get him in next week or 2 weeks. So I went on Google and I searched best daycare in New York City, and called the first one I could find. And I was like, I'd like to sign up my kid. I want to take a tour. And I was like, oh, you want to sign him up for next year? And I was like, no, I want to sign him up for next week. And she's like, no, parents who come to our daycare apply for a year in advance. Mm-hmm. And when I hung up the phone, I got like this crushing feeling in my stomach. And I remember saying to myself, I will never, because of my inaction, will my son not have an opportunity to have the best. And so that began my quest in trying to figure out every possible thing about the educational system. And I guess I became a mini expert. And through that process, I found out that there was a gifted and talented program. The first thing I want to tell you is that you will hear a lot of misinformation about gifted and talented program. But Karen Quinn and her program will provide you the absolute best and correct information out there. And her website is full of its inexhaustible resources. I mean, interviews with like professionals and psychologists, and she's always putting stuff out there. And this is the best money you could spend in terms of signing up for her website and the 1-year membership. Totally a no-brainer. We also had the game as well, which is very helpful because at some point your kid might just get tired of doing the questions, and the game helps to disarm the environment and help them not focus on the questions. Kids learn best to play, so if you make it fun and you turn it into a game, it really helps. So a big plug for the game as well. I guess I would say that when one of the parents that was speaking when I was in your shoes, they mentioned about not just prepping for the test in terms of knowledge, but prepping for the test psychologically, as you mentioned, in terms of visiting the school and getting your son familiar with strangers. One of the tips that I heard, actually, let me tell you this, she gave out a tip sheet on what to do, and I just followed everything to the T. Like what Michael said about, you're going to a school next week, and we're visiting the school, and then you're going to meet someone, and they're just going to ask you questions. I told him he's going to play brain games. I didn't tell him about the test. That was actually a tip from Karen Quinn. Don't mention the word test, because that could make them have anxiety. When we were at the test, I actually saw kids being dragged in by the instructor. They were screaming and crying, and that's just not the best way to get started on a test. And you're already anxious. So I was really grateful that I and you could hear the parents like, yo, come on, you better do your best, kind of pressuring the kid. And I think that, what I did is I didn't even let them know that it was a test, and I helped to, say, oh, this is just like the brain games we do at home. Mm-hmm. Also, you may be overwhelmed. I worked on Wall Street. I was extremely busy. I didn't really have time to spend hours prepping him. But the website is really good because you can print out the questions, and you can do them like when you're at Trader Joe's. When you start to get familiar with the prep questions, and you kind of make up if you see a kid get something wrong, let's say it's a math question, you can kind of make up those questions in a different environment to help them, answer those questions sort of while you're about your daily shopping or your daily routine. A little bit every day is much better than a lot in one sitting. So you guys have ample time to sort of do like 5 minutes a day, and then I increased his sort of ability to do more by doing 10 minutes a day, and then I tried to go crazy and do 20 minutes a day, and he had one of those tantrums they talked about, and I felt like giving up, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is not going to work. And then I emailed Karen, and she came back to me like almost right away, which is unheard of, like with customer service, in terms of trying to give me the right information to get to where I need to go. She said I had 5 minutes, but I didn't check the time I started. But I just want to let you guys know that this program is awesome, and Karen Quinn is phenomenal, and I will endorse her till death do me part, because if it wasn't for her, like, I'm pretty sure my kid, it's 99. It only takes one question, or he could have been one question away from getting a 97, which would qualify him for a citywide school. And it's to the point where, like, we were doing a test question, and one of the questions was, which one's fewer? Now, he knows which one is less, but typically in our home we don't use the word fewer. So just because he knows the answer doesn't mean he's going to get it right, because he doesn't understand the vocabulary fewer. So he can't ask the teacher, what does fewer mean? You have to sort of kind of tell, you have to sort of practice with the question, and the questions that they give you help you to sort of prepare your kid with the vocabulary. So that whole week I was always talking about, I use fewer like crazy, because he's gonna get that one right. This is a great program, like I said many times, and I think I'm gonna stop now. But if you guys have any questions, I'll be here at the end, and I'd be glad to help you answer it. There is a really big difference between these schools and the general schools. It's night and day. It's totally a different environment, and kids learn so much from each other. My wife is also a teacher, so I can also attest to the fact that there's a lot of pressure on teachers to sort of meet certain numbers and so on and so forth. So they really, really focus on the lower half of those kids. But when you're in a gifted and talented school like mine, I just came back from curriculum night at the school, and everything's differentiated. They take your kid at whatever level they're at, and they tailor the educational process for them. So if your kid comes in not reading versus your kid comes in reading, then your kid may be at a level D, and at the end of the year they'll be at a level E, F, or G, versus a kid who's not reading might be at a level D at the end of the year. So in another school, your kid might totally be ignored because they're so gifted and they're so smart, and the teacher's only focused on getting those kids who are not to a next level. So good luck on your test, and have a good night.
Thank you.